Okay, good evening, everybody, and welcome to day 2 of our MENA Summer Sessions. As you can see from the screen, we are looking at young learners' writing skills today. So we are welcoming Ola Refaat. Ola, a warm welcome to you this evening. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, Nathan. How are you doing?
I'm doing very good. Where are you joining us from, and what's the weather like there?
I'm joining from Cairo, and the weather is really hot. But thank God for, thank God for air conditioning.
Yay. And Ola's going to be doing the first session where she's going to be looking at raising confident and competent young writers of English. And then we're going to follow that up with a very practical session by our colleague Mahab. If you were with us yesterday, you will recognize lovely Mahab. Today, though, she's going to be looking at young learners writing using the coursebook Academy Stars. So looking at how that course can help our students master writing and also enjoy the process of writing. Isn't that right, Mahab?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. And how are you doing this evening? Are you okay?
I'm good. Thank you, Nathan. Yeah, good to see you again.
Where are you joining us from? And is it also steamy there?
I'm joining you from Amman, Jordan, and it's quite warm. Yes, definitely very warm. And I agree with Ola. Thank goodness for air conditioning.
Yeah, I think we would all be suffering without it. Okay, so as you know, everybody, these MENA Summer Sessions are brought to you by the MENA PD Academy, which is Macmillan Education MENA's professional development platform. This is where we host all of our professional development activities and opportunities. We have a website, www.menapdacademy.com, which we can share in the chat box in a moment. And you can go on and find all of our webinars, blogs, a community, product support, all different types of professional development in there. So go and have an explore of that. As yesterday, if you were with us yesterday, you would have saw this fun little video that I put up telling you all about the MENA PD Academy, our little friend, to come in and introduce it for us. It is our way of, MENA is the Middle East and North Africa. So this is the region that we cover for Macmillan Education. You can see it here, look, Morocco, we've got the Gulf, we've got the Levant, we've got North Africa, Iraq is in there as well. And sometimes our friends from Somalia are also with us. I saw one there yesterday. So if you are in Somalia, welcome. And it's all our professional development activities to help you guys advance learning in your schools. And we do that by helping you to advance teaching skills, digital skills, global skills, inclusivity, amongst other things. And you can hook up with us on any of the social media platforms by looking for MENA PD Academy. You can go to the website, which is right there. You can scan that QR code as well and go and explore the website in your own time. Please do that. And we're also on YouTube as well. I haven't put YouTube on here, but all of the recordings and their videos are always on YouTube. I've already posted yesterday's, so you can see that one if you missed it. And these summer sessions came out of our MENA Insights report. So if you go to the homepage of the Academy website, you can see the Young Learners report that I published about a week ago. And there were 3 topics that teachers in the Middle East and North Africa wanted to focus on in their professional development this year, things that they wanted support with. Motivation and engagement was one, so we did that yesterday. Productive skills was the second one, so we're doing writing today, and we're going to be looking at speaking as well later in the week. And the last one was differentiation and inclusion, and we'll be looking at that again next week. So go to the website, you can see the other MENA Summer Sessions on the website as well, and you can sign up for any of the other ones that you're interested in. Looking forward to today, though, we've already mentioned, we've got Ola and Mahab with us, looking at writing skills, if you're just joining us. And we're going to be exploring the coursebook Academy Stars. And I didn't realize there was animations on this. I thought it was all just going to pop up. But these are some things that you will get to learn about when we look at Academy Stars later. So how we use language in context, making it meaningful for the students. I know Mab's going to be looking at graphic grammar, which is using animations to help students understand the grammar. We're getting them to communicate in real life communication skills. Didn't say that properly, but I'm sure you understand what I mean. We're helping them to understand about language. There's lots of reading time, which helps them with reflective writing. I'm interested to know what reflective writing is going to be all about. So Mark will help us with that. And there's lots of other things like thinking skills, values, and presentation skills as well. So we'll look forward to learning about Academy Stars a little bit later on. Of course, you'll probably want to know if there are going to be certificates. Yes, there will be a certificate for today's webinar if you're joining on Zoom. If you're listening to us on Facebook, I will also put a link on there so that you can fill in your name and email address. That's it, just two things, so that I can send you a certificate as well. I've got a little Google form for you. So you can still get a certificate if you're watching on Facebook. And we'll also send a little virtual goodie bag. I should have changed this from yesterday, but I haven't. But we've got some other fun professional development things we'll add to your email. I haven't sent out yesterday's yet. I will probably send them all out next week when the webinars are all finished, because it's going to take me a bit of time because there was 130 people yesterday to send to. So it'll take a little time. So be patient, but I will send them all out. I have all of your details from the registration forms, and I will get them out to you in the next week or two. Tomorrow, we've got a global event. It is part of this whole summer sessions. I've incorporated into it, but we have the Fast Forward event. It's a global event, but it will be me that will be there. So I'm doing the young learners tips tomorrow. I have 10 wonderful tips for young learner teachers, which I'll be sharing with you tomorrow. I'm doing the 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. session, so which will be around midday and late afternoon in MENA. So you can catch any of those sessions. There's 3 different timings. And then on Thursday, we're going to be doing speaking skills. We have Mohammed joining us, and I will be doing the first session next week, looking at differentiation. So loads of stuff going on for you to look forward to. But in the meantime, I think we should welcome in Ola. Ola, I'm going to stop sharing my screen so that you can. We also have this change makers going on at the moment. If that sounds ominous and interesting to you, I will explain it to you at the end of the webinar. But for now, Ola, I'm going to stop sharing. Oh, my mouse is disappearing. And I will let you share your screen. Hopefully everything is working okay. You are most welcome. I can see people commenting in the chat box there. Yes, we can. No, there's loads of good questions. I'll come through and answer each of them. Ola, how are you doing? Are you able to share yet?
Yeah. Just give me a second. Figure it. Yep.
There we go. And it's 2023. Wonderful.
Oh, come on. You know that I meant 2023.
Of course, I knew you. Ola shared this a moment ago, and we had the wrong date on there, but it was great.
Yep.
Ola, I'm going to leave it to you. I'm going to keep an eye on the chat box and the Q&A. If anybody has any questions as you're listening, pop them in the chat box. I will keep a note of them, and we will ask Ola at the end. I'm sure Ola might address some of the questions in the chat box as she goes as well, but I will look forward to sharing some of them at the end. Ola, for me now, I will pass over to you, and good luck, and we will see you at the end.
Thank you, Nathan. Hello, everyone. I hope you're having a wonderful evening, and I hope you're ready for this. This is going to be a very practical session, and we have loads of ideas for you on how to encourage young learners in one of the most challenging yet really, really rewarding skills that really show that they are learning and they are thriving in their English language teaching. When it comes to writing, most of you have come back to us with requests for this. Writing is always a little bit challenging, a little bit time-consuming, and sometimes it can get a little bit daunting if the children do not know what to what to write or how to tackle a writing task. And in today's session, we are going to go through steps on how to break these down in very, very little steps, and at the same time, get those creative juices flowing. These young minds are very, very vibrant. And what you want to do is to get them to start sharing what's in their mind. And this is where the name of the session comes from mind to paper. It all starts here in the mind. So let's get started. So let's start with, I'm not sure if you've come across this poem, but it's one of my favorites. And let me read it for you. It's about a little boy. One morning, when the little boy had been in school for a while, the teacher said, "Today, we're going to make a picture." Good, thought the little boy. He liked to make pictures. He could make all kinds, lions and tigers, chickens and cows, trains and boats. And he took out his box of crayons and began to draw. But the teacher said, "Wait, it's not time to begin." And she waited until everyone looked ready. "Now," said the teacher, "we're going to make flowers." Good, thought the little boy. He liked to make flowers. And he began to make beautiful ones with his pink and orange and blue crayons. The teacher said, "Wait, and I'll show you how." And she drew a flower on the blackboard. It was red with a green stem. "There," said the teacher. "Now you may begin." The little boy looked at the teacher's flower, and then he looked at his own flower. He liked his flower better than the teacher's, but he did not say this. He just turned his paper over. And he made a flower like the teacher's. It was red with a green stem. On another day, the teacher said, "Today, we're going to make something with clay." What did the little boy say? Good, thought the little boy. He liked clay. He could make all kinds of things with clay. Snakes and snowmen, elephants and mice, cars and trucks. And he began to pull and pinch his ball of clay. "Wait, and I'll show you how." And she showed everyone how to make one deep dish. "There," said the teacher. And he made the flower just like the teacher's. "Now you may begin." The little boy looked at the teacher's dish. Then he looked at his own. He liked his dishes better than the teacher's, but he did not say this. He just rolled his clay back into a big bowl again, and he made a dish just like the teacher's. It was a deep dish. And pretty soon, the little boy learned to wait and to watch and to make things just like the teacher. And pretty soon, he didn't make things of his own anymore. Then it happened that the little boy and his family moved to another house, and the little boy had to go to another school. And the very first day he was there, the teacher said, "Today we're going to make a picture." Good, thought the little boy. And he waited for the teacher to tell him what to do. But the teacher didn't say anything. She just walked around the room. When she came to the little boy, she said, "Don't you want to make a picture?" "Yes," said the little boy. "What are we going to make?" "Well, I don't know until you make it," said the teacher. "How shall I make it?" asked the little boy. "Why, any way you like," said the teacher. "And any color?" asked the little boy. "Any color," said the teacher. If everyone made the same picture and used the same colors, how would I know who made what and which was which? "I don't know," said the little boy, and he began to draw a flower. It was red with a green stem. And This is the end of the story. Can you type in the chat box what happened here? Do you like this ending, or do you think this story should have gone in another direction? So this little boy, when he first went to the first school, his mind was full of ideas. He wanted to do his own thing. He wanted to create, he wanted to draw all sorts of things, do all sorts of things with clay. But then he was taught to wait and wait for instructions. And then what happened was that he only gave the teacher what he thought she wanted to hear, or he wanted to hear. I too think that it should have ended another way, and this is such a sad ending that we really don't want to do. But then our teachers, our students, I mean, they are not native speakers of English. English is not their first language. When we ask them to be creative, they struggle a lot with language. They struggle a lot with basic sentence building. We have to give them the support. So how do we balance this? How do we give them the support that they need, give them the structure that they need to build a proper piece of writing without killing their imagination and without ending the story like the first teacher? How do we become like the second teacher while giving them the support that they need? And today we are going to explore ways to create this balance between giving them the structure, telling them how, well, not telling them how, I like to use the word support them in doing this, but at the same time, keep the creative juices flowing and keep their ideas coming, so they are not stuck with what they think the teacher wants to see. Don't you sometimes see that we tackle writing more as a studying? Students study pieces of composition, writing, and they study them, and one of them would come in the exam, and then in the exams we would see that they're almost copy-paste. It's just like what the second teacher said. If everyone drew the same flower, how would I know which is which? So how do we do that? It's not easy and it's not hard at the same time. We just need to know when to support and when to let their creativity take over, when to evaluate structure and vocabulary and punctuation, and when to let go of these in order to encourage creative ideas. So if I ask you now in the chat box, very quickly, to put the word car in a sentence, very quickly, don't think about it, just write the sentence in the chat box. Put the word car in a sentence, any sentence whatsoever. My car was blue. I drive a car. I want to buy a car. My car is nice. I have a red car. I have a red car. Okay, so all those nice people that said that they have a red car, do you really have a red car? Give me a car. Yes, I agree. I don't have a car. I recommend you to buy a car. I love this one. So, no, I thought so. Most students, when we ask them to put car in a sentence, they would write, I have a red car. I don't know why. What's with red cars that most students, it's just the first idea that pops into their head. And I like that one of our teachers also, the first instinct was, I would love to buy a new car. Yes, this is it. That's more like it. So the idea of this is, when we ask students to put words in sentences, they usually write sentences. They focus on the sentence being grammatically correct. They want to get away with it. Red is a very, very straightforward and easy color to think of. And so it comes, I have a red car. And when you ask them, do you really have a red car? They would say no. So the first tip here is do not accept this sentence from the students unless it's true. And in the activity, we would say, put car in a sentence that is true for you. This helps the students to really think of the message that they are going to say, or what they want to tell us about themselves that involves the car, just like most of you did. Most of you said that they would love to buy a car, they recommend to buying cars. Well, driving in Egypt is not a picnic, but it's still better than not having a car, you know? So I would love to have a red car. I would love to have a blue car. These are sentences that are true for you. And this is what we want to encourage our students to think about. When we see activities in our textbooks, we would see that most of these very, very basic activities, they have to end with write something that is true for you. So we as teachers, the first tip would be, do not only focus on the sentence being correct. Do not accept sentence from a student that is not true if you're asking them to write a true sentence. Sometimes you might ask them to write a false sentence. Sometimes you might ask them to write one false sentence and two true sentences, and then the rest of the students would guess which one is the lie. All of these ideas are to encourage them to think about the message before thinking about the structure. This was just a warm-up, and I have a car is the sentence that comes to mind. So now I'd like you to think of a person, and what I'd like you to do now is to type in the chat box, but do not send the message, okay? Just type in the chat box who this person is and what they look like. Type it in the chat box and do not send it, please, not just yet. I'm gonna give you a couple of seconds to do that. All right. So you should have a picture of a person in your head now, and you should now have typed a couple of sentences to describe this person. Now I'd like you to describe where this person is going. Think where this person could be going. Do not send the message just yet. Just think, have a picture in your head and type it in the chat box, but do not send the message. Right. How is this person going to wherever he's going or she's going? Are they walking? Are they running? Are they hopping? Are they crawling? Can you please add this detail? Edit your sentence or edit your story now to add this detail. How are they going to this destination? Is how they are going reflecting how they are feeling? Talk about the feelings of this person. How are they feeling right now? And now, can you please press send and let me see those stories on the chat box? Patricia is more talkative than other students in class. She's outgoing as well. She's doing gym classes. She loves it. My wife, she's cute, she's patient, she's at home, she's doing your chores. She feels calm and relaxed. That's really nice. I think he's going to work. He's going to work on his car, and he feels comfortable. So if you can see all these variety of ideas that you've come up with for just thinking about a person. Diana is beautiful. She's going to bed. She's happy. Messi, he's going to Riyadh, fly from Spain. He's very happy. So that's really a nice variety of stories, and they all come from one single idea, thinking of a person. But because we haven't shared with each other, we've let you imagine and add detail after detail after detail. I'm supporting you with details, but then I'm letting you come up with the details, and you can see how different the outcome is. Something similar can happen in our very, very young learner classroom, starting from ages 7, 8 until 10, 11, 12. My son is naughty, he's impatient, he loves playing football. Yeah. So this is for us as adults, and young children need a little bit more support than that. But this is to give you an idea of how a single prompt can lead to so many varieties, so that not all the writings can be the same, and how we can support details and provide them with more prompts, so their writing is richer and richer all the time. So let's look at this piece of writing. This is a pictorial composition, and here the students are asked to describe what they can see. Let's look at this description. The young man with a hat is driving a bus. He's looking at the dirty car. He does not like it. Is he thinking about his own car? The second one, the prompt sentences are children on? So the little children are on the bus. They are smiling and playing. They are excited. Where are they going? The nice woman with a lovely dress is stopping a taxi. She wants to go home quickly. What has she got in her shopping bag? Does this look like a pictorial composition that traditionally come up in children's writing? And how can we encourage our children in very, very little steps and gradual steps to produce this kind of writing that is dynamic, full of thought, and really sometimes out of the box? So let's see how we can build up the skills until we reach this level. If you can see, there are thinking skills, there are questions asked, there are there's very descriptive language over here. So how we can build this into our children's writing attempts. So what makes a good piece of writing? It's first thing, the message. What is the writer trying to tell us? Then what makes it spicier is their choice of words. Then, of course, the accuracy, grammar, punctuation, spelling. And then we've got the organization of ideas, cohesion, coherence. And this comes later beyond a sentence level. Actually, a lot of educators focus a lot on accuracy in grammar and pronunciation and spelling, because these are seen as the building blocks and the essential tools. You cannot build a piece of writing without focusing on these things. And what we're saying is that these things are essential, but they come third in our evaluation of a good piece of writing. The message comes first, then the choice of words. And let's see how we can help learners do that. So what type of activities can help beginners start learning? And this comes from our legendary book, Learning, Teaching. And it starts with a very, very small thing like copying. Do you think that copying is a good idea to help children write? Actually, copying can be very helpful with beginners because it helps create a habit. Writing is it creates its own path in the brain. So when the student copies, they have a lot of print awareness practice. They practice spacing. They practice that what they say corresponds to one word that they write, and they get the habit of saying something out loud, saying it in their mind, and then transforming it to writing. Copying actually is not a bad thing, but there are ways to do copying that can really help students get into the habit of writing, and it's good for their motor skills as well. Doing exercises, and this is what we do in grammar exercises and in scaffolded exercises in writing, and we're going to explore more about that. And then we've got guided writing. It's that when we support structure and vocabulary and we help students generate their own ideas. We're going to look more into that. Process writing comes later. And this is when we say brainstorming, drafting, and the rest of the process that you know. And then unguided writing, which is another step that is really creative and really difficult. And actually, as we go down, the level of difficulty increases. And there is no reason why we cannot work on all of these with our young children all at once, supporting certain areas, of course. So, copying and doing exercises. This all starts with the grammar lesson. And if we can see this grammar lesson, it's got some elements of copying, and then it's got the exercises. So here we're supporting them with a picture, and the students are supposed to write, we go to school on Monday. They play basketball on Thursday. And then after that, they need to complete these sentences about themselves. This is a very, very guided piece of writing that is not even a guided writing thing. It's an exercise. It's a drill about language. And usually in textbooks, you will find that these often come in the grammar lessons. But the fascinating thing about these type of exercises is it really asks the students to think about themselves and to think about a true message while practicing very, very fixed structure. There's no variation in structure here. In fact, we are supporting the structure. And you have no idea how helpful these types of exercises are, because these will form the basis of your writing lesson later on in the unit. But we do not really want to stop at just copying the activity in the picture, looking for the right word and writing it. We really want to jump in the activity number 2, where the students transform this grammar knowledge into a real communicative message. By communication, we mean something true about themselves that they want to share with you. Unless we reach this stage of communication using grammar, we are not benefiting from the grammar, and they are never going to use this grammar later. So when you do grammar drills are excellent. They're good. Those endless worksheets, we know all about them. But remember to end your grammar lesson with this very small, very limited and guided communicative activity, because unless they do that sort of communication at a sentence level, they're never going to get into the habit of using it in the middle of a bigger writing task. You know what I mean? So, and grammaring is a process, according to Scott Thornbury in his very good book, Uncovering Grammar. Grammar happens, mastering the grammar happens when learners notice that they need to use the structure to share something with you as a teacher. Ask the students real, genuine questions about how they spend their week. Maybe ask them how they don't spend their week. Maybe ask them to write true and false sentences about how they spend certain days of the week. All these activities really bring grammar to life while really supporting it. Children here have the model right in front of them. They are not struggling with it because it is still fresh. They have just studied this grammar. They are familiar with it, but we are taking it a step further into a more communicative activity. Another one of these communicative activities where the students control the message. They draw the time and they manipulate the sentences in order to create a real message. Here, I am supporting them with the vocabulary and the action, but I'm letting them choose the time. So it is true for them. All these things help the children think about the message more than they think about the structure. I am supporting the structure, holding it tight, asking them to practice it, while thinking about their own message. Okay, so a good tip here is to actually keep this grammar on the walls of the classroom with pictures, so the students remember them when they want to express something using this grammar. So something like, where is, I can see, I can't see, yesterday versus today, what's he doing, present continuous, he's reading a newspaper. Are you reading a newspaper? No, I'm not. Structure like that comes in any textbook. You can extract pieces of it and keep it on the walls. One thing about teaching young children to write is that we expect them to remember too much. We expect them to remember all the grammar, to remember all the spelling, to remember all the words. Why it doesn't have to be like that? If I provide them with these on the walls and ask them to create their own message, while they can see the rule in front of them, they can pick it up the wall and use it. Later on, each and every one of them will create their own favorite sentence structures and words. And they're going to feel more comfortable and confident in using them from memory. But unless I provide it for them and keep it permanently on the walls, they're going to find it really difficult to locate it in their memory, if we can say so. Let's explore further. So, guided writing. What do we do in guided writing? We support grammar and vocabulary, just like what I was saying a moment ago. Give them the grammar and give them the vocabulary. Keep it in front of them to help them manipulate the message that they want to share. I'm not saying that we are going to let them write wrong grammar and incorrect vocabulary, but why not support it? Why not give it to them? It's called scaffolding. I really support one area in order to develop another area. By time, and the more that children do it, they're going to feel more confident, and this would come more natural to them later on. Support structure and work on sentence building. The child comes up with the message, but I'm supporting the main building blocks. So something like this. Choose your pizza, draw, and then ask and answer. If you can see here, we are providing the language and structure. And why not provide a list of words? So what can we put on a pizza? Mushrooms, tomatoes. What else? Peppers, onions. Provide them with all these words. Brainstorm and write the words right in front of them. But then when the child draws his own pizza and they come to write the dialogue, ask and answer, it's their own message. I'm training them to be free in what they draw and not be scared that they don't know the word. Most children limit their writing to the words that they can remember. And when I take this load off of them, they become more creative in their writing. And the more they do it, the more they remember the words, and which is what we want to do. So a very good tip really is to support these words, support them with vocabulary. Our aim here is not to test their memory for words. This has its own exam and has its own skill. But when we are talking about writing, because writing is not an easy task, and we really don't want them to stumble and limit their writing to what they already know, we want to provide them with the grammar and the vocabulary, whatever words they need. We want to give it to them. So they're not worried about spelling. They're not worried about doing the wrong structure. And when they write wrong, I ask them, look at the wall, look at this. This is what you want to say, right? They develop the habit of doing it correctly, but then they are not feeling the stress that they need to remember everything. By time, they are going to remember it, believe me. Something like this, play true or false, write sentences about your friends, ask and answer. So the nice thing about this activity is that it encourages students to write false sentences. And when you write a false sentence, you kind of think about what is true and what is false. You kind of think about the message. And it's a fun way, really, to let them do that once in a while. Write sentences that aren't true. They come out really, really funny. And they can go as crazy as they want with this. But it also gives them a chance to think about the message while the structure is completely supported. So this is also a grammar activity that turns into a mini writing activity. If all grammar lessons end like this, and we start practicing this more than just doing grammar exercises, these are the type of activities that are going to encourage students to use this later. Right. So fun ideas for copying and guided writing. Even copying is a good tool, but you can actually have them, some textbooks use projects. And when you feel that a student is struggles a little bit with writing, with pencil control, with their handwriting, with their spacing techniques, you want to let them try different pens and markers. So you are going to write this on the poster, for example. You're going to write this sentence on a poster. Why don't you try different markers and see which one looks better? Why don't you try glitter pens? Why don't you try a finger paint? In this way, when the child is trying so many tools, they are going to repeat writing the sentence, and it's going to be a very good practice for them. Yes, it is still copying at this stage, but there's no reason why we cannot make copying fun. And for some students, copying is key. Copying is a good way for them to practice print awareness, things like spacing, handwriting, and it helps them retain sentences in their heads as well. It really, really digs these, makes these connections in their brain. Writing is a different skill than speaking, by the way, and it's a different skill than reading, and it happens separately. You have no idea how fascinating the brain works. Can you believe that writing has different neuropaths than reading? So sometimes some children can write a word, but when they see it, they cannot read it because they have practiced this more than this, and the neuropaths are formed here and not there. It's really a fascinating topic. But another way to do guided writing is fun sentences. Sentences that are crazy, that are fun, that are descriptive, that are secretive. Crazy sentences or untrue sentences or two truths and a lie, riddle sentences. These are things that can help the students practice grammar while focused on meaning. Another tip for at a sentence level is using what we call writing power-ups. So it's not just a normal sentence. We can be more descriptive with a sentence. We can use power words. And we can use onomatopoeia, which is a really, really powerful tool. If the children master it, it comes out really cute in their writing. And show not tell. And let's go through each one of them in detail to see how we can help our students enrich their writing with very simple steps. So back to our lady who is stopping a taxi. So is woman stopping? This is what I'm supporting the students with. Remember when I asked you to think about a person, think about how to describe them, what they look like. We can do the same here. The woman is stopping a taxi. So we're talking about a woman, and we're talking about some traits that we can add to the woman. Is she nice? Is she young? Is she lovely? Is she pretty? Is she elegant? Is she old? Is she crazy? Is she... So we can brainstorm with the children descriptions of this woman. What do they think she looks like? Perhaps it's what she looks like to them from the picture, and they can imagine other things that are not there. And what is she wearing? And what does her hair look like? And you can support the children with these adjectives. So in the taxi, it can be either big or small, and we can add the color. So the sentence can come up something like this. Nice woman with a red dress stopping a big white taxi. And this can come in handy when we're studying a lesson like the order of adjectives later on in primary stage. And this is a very nice way to practice being more descriptive in writing and use it in pictorial compositions like this. And then a very nice tip is, after coming up with a descriptive sentence, have the students write it from memory on a piece of blank paper. Hold the sentence is one of my favorite writing ideas, because the children have thought about the descriptive sentence, the extra details, and they are not under pressure. They have worked on this as a team in the protection of their classroom, but then they need to remember it. They need to hold it in, and you need to hide the sentence and ask them to remember how to write it. When the children write such a long sentence from memory, it really helps them get into the habit of writing. So come up with as many sentences as you want. Go crazy with the description. Very, very structured and very, very helpful technique for the students. It's very easy for them. But then once you've come up with the sentence, hide it, ask the students to write it from their memory. Later on, they will get into the habit of adding more descriptions to whatever they are writing. And when they forget, when they feel that, well, when you feel that their sentence is simple and it can go further, you can ask them, what more can you say about this? What more can you say about that? All these things will help them get into the habit of adding more power words into their writing. You can do something like this. You can do, you can give them options, and you can form all sorts of sentences from a table like this. This activity can be independent from whatever writing lesson or grammar lesson. This is a stretching activity that can work as a warm-up when they have come out of the break and they are all sweaty and out of breath and messy. You can just put this on the wall, put this on the board, and ask them to come up with sentences. Here, the structure is supported, the vocabulary is supported, and all what they have to do is create the idea, create their own person, create their own scene. After they create the scene, they're going to draw it. This type of activity is a good mental workout, is a good writing workout that you can do to help them practice on a daily basis, on a weekly basis. You have no idea how repeating this type of activities can help them develop their own writing skills later on. We always struggle with students that when they start writing a task, they stumble a lot. And they stumble a lot because they are not trained enough to do that. They are not trained enough to think of a message and support it with words. And the more we help them with easy activities like this, easy yet very dynamic, very fun, if you want to call them that, the more you give them these type of activities and the more they practice, the better they will become at it. So when you ask them for a writing task, a proper writing task in the book or in the exam, their muscles would be trained, their minds would be trained, and holding a sentence, forming a sentence, composing a sentence would come as second nature to them, hopefully. So this is an example. A nice woman with a red dress is stopping a big white taxi. Can you write in the chat box one sentence that you can build from this table very quickly? So I'm sure that you're still with us, still listening, and still having fun, hopefully. So I'm looking at the chat box now. Form sentences, please, for me. So I'm going to type one of my own here without thinking. Crazy man with a colorful hat is stopping a bus. Can you believe that I actually pictured this in my head? The little creature with the messy dress is stopping a car. I mean, once the sentence comes and it's a sentence, it really prompts you to think of a picture. It is really funny when you start drawing the picture that you've just written. It's really brings laughter to the classroom. It brings so much fun. Thank you for the wonderful sentences. I love them all. You are a very creative bunch, you know that. Is stopping a planet. Well, Nathan, that's really out there, and I like it. It's stopping a planet. Very nice. So maybe I'm really ambitious. A tip: provide power word lists. Fill the walls with wall charts of words to describe people, feeling, clothes, colors, so the children have a reference to go to while writing. Give them the tools, and you can actually extract these words from the reading text. And if you come across a word that you think that is special and it's a power word, and say, let's add it to our power words wall. Let's see. And by time, the children will start using these, and each child will form their favorite set of sentences that will form their style later, you know. Not all the children are going to remember all of these. The idea is give them the tools and ask them to try to use them. If you find that one child is comfortable only with the color red, gently prompt them to choose other colors. It's right there in front of you, and they're not going to feel the pressure. By time, they're going to create their own favorite lists, and it will build up by time. All right, so different ways to say sad, for example, blue, disappointed, depressed, different ways to say happy, different ways to say big. All of these, the children can actually use off the wall, off the charts, whatever way you wish to provide them with these, keep them in front of them. And by time, they are going to remember them. This is other words to say awesome, beautiful, big, happy. And as we say, they don't need to remember them. You can extract them from reading. You can extract them from conversations. You can actually, when a child starts using these in speaking language, you can highlight that and add it to the power word wall. You can create your own wall. It doesn't need to be really big, but it needs to be available for the children to be able to pick, and you can build it over time, of course. Okay, this actually, I really like this tip because how people go to places says a lot about how they feel and how they it sets the mood for the whole story if they are liking a story, if they are writing a story. So if they rushed, if they raced, if they walked, they crawled, crept, it's really, these choices really enrich their writing and enrich their imagination as well. So these are some ideas of also varieties of words that you can use. So again, this is a very important tip. Students don't have to study huge words lists to acquire the vocabulary necessary to enrich their writing. It's okay to have word lists to look at while attempting to write. We are encouraging a message. We are not encouraging memorization of tons of words. By time, each child will form a favorite word list that will mark their writing style. And older students can actually create their own reference notebook. So this really takes the pressure off the writing. And don't worry, in exams, if we practice this a lot during the year, while supporting grammar on the walls and supporting vocabulary on the walls, when it's time for an exam, an unseen exam, they will already have the habits. And in exams, you will have tolerance for spelling mistakes. Not saying we should not practice spelling, but these things have weights, you know. If you are weighing their choice, the richer choice of words against some mistake in spelling, it's going to balance out. This is something that we want to build, and we want to build both at the same time. You definitely don't want them to fall back on safe words just because they are afraid to make mistakes. And if we practice a lot, students are going to acquire more words and they're going to remember the spelling. Don't worry about that. Okay, so let's see how we can describe this tennis racket. So these are some ways you can describe it. My new super strong racket, my fantastic bright red racket, my shiny red and black racket, my old boring red racket. So the sky is the limit here. The children are the ones who have to set the mood according to what they think, and you need to train them to do that. Not everything has to be shiny. It can be old and it can be boring, and they can describe it as that. There's nothing wrong in doing that. Moving on. This is something that I found that I really like, and it helps children when they are attempting to write a story. So there's stuff that happens outside your head. So this is the setting, where, when, and who. And there are inside ideas. Are they wondering? Are they remembering? Are they noticing? And there are sensory details such as touch, smell, taste. So you will find tons of these on the internet, and you can actually mix and match. You can create your own, but the more you break down these things into things that the children can manage, the more creative they will become. So when we leave it vague and unguided, they are never going to think of writing outside their heads and inside their head. So outside your head, inside your head is one of the practice techniques to help children's juices flow, creative juices flow. Okay, so let's go through what we did so far. So we've helped the children be more descriptive, use power words. These are other ways to describe easy words like happy, sad. No, we use power words. We use more different words than what is standard or basic. Hold the sentence, then make your own sentence. We've gone through that. Support basic structure while working on strategies. So I support grammar, I support words, and work on ideas and work on these writing strategies that are description, power words, making a sentence. All right. Onomatopoeia is words that describe a sound. So things like bang, bam, achoo, buzz, splish, splash. You can have so much fun brainstorming these with the children, and you can find them in reading texts. Actually, you can pick them out and you can encourage the children to use them in their writing. You have no idea what cute effect these do when children use them in writing. And they're so much fun that the children really, by experience, I've worked with children on this, and they're so much fun that the children get the hang of it really quickly and they start using it. these are very helpful when they are trying to write a story, or even when they are practicing grammar, but they want to write about situation using a grammatical sentence. So yeah, keep these in mind and try to use them if possible. Tell and show. This is a technique that also we use in writing. So here, it was so hot. This is the tell. They were all sweating. This is where I show how hot it is. It was dark and cool inside. I tell. It took a moment or two for her eyes to get used to the darkness. This is where I show. So do you see the pattern here? Everywhere was so quiet. This is a tell. Her footsteps echoed on the wooden floor. This is the show. So the show is when I add a detail that shows what I want to say. So tell and show is a technique in writing. So is show and not tell. So if I use show, not tell, I wouldn't say the thing that I would like to describe, but I would write something to show it. So Sarah's heart beat fast. This shows that she was scared, worried, anxious. If I say only they were sweating, it shows that it was really hot, but I'm not saying, I'm just showing, show and not tell. And here, Mr. Graham got up, stretched, and went to the staff room for his break. So this shows that this person was tired. Showing and not telling emotions. So my hands were shaking, my knees were like jelly. There are other words to show that I was afraid, that I was happy, that I was angry, that I was tired. So it's like I think of something that I want to say, and then instead of saying it, I give them something to show. This really enriches their description. This might work for children of age 10 and above to enrich their creative writing a little bit. You can also create a wall for this. If the children want to use it, they can have a reference and they can have something to go back to. And sometimes it's really nice to add these things to their writing training or their writing techniques. So these are ways to say afraid, to show and not tell. Afraid. Can you guess what number 3 is? Blushing, turn red, hanging head low, holding back tears, rolling eyes, stomach flips, hiding face. What does this person feel? Shy. Excellent. Exactly. So embarrassed, shy. Yeah. What about number 4? Red in the face, hands on hips, jaws, fist clenched, veins popping, dark squinted eyes, punching hands into fist. What does this person feel? Anger. Brilliant. Angry. Bright red face, sweat on face, back, fanning self with hand, moving slowly, panting for breath, drenched hairline. This person is hot. Exhausted. Yeah, well, hot, really. Living in Dubai. Exactly. Smiling face, eyes wide open, corners of mouth rising, jumping up and down, laughing, giggling. On cloud 9. Yeah, happy. So yeah, these are techniques that can help the children, and they're very straightforward, and they really help children think about what they write and think how to enrich it while removing the pressure off them. We're not pressuring them, we're just giving them options. And because it's so structured, because it's so easy to follow, children are going to get a hang of it. And so from time to time, concentrate on one of these writing strategies and insist that all students use it. You can create special writing lessons for this, just to get them into the habit of thinking about it and using. More writing strategies beyond the sentence. So all that we were on a sentence level, how to make our sentence sound more, be more creative and sound more dynamic and vibrant. Beyond the sentence, we can use the small moments technique. We can use the see, think, wonder, and see, hear, feel, do. And you can actually create your own if you feel that you've got your own sequence of thoughts. You can create them really, and once the students get into the habit of following these, it's going to be so much fun for them. Let's see some examples. So small moments. So this is about waking up, getting out of bed, having breakfast, go to school, read and write, go home. So let's focus on waking up. How did you wake up in the morning? Today, how did you wake up? Can you type in the chat box? Think about the moment you woke up. How did you wake up today? Alarm? Did someone wake you up? Did you wake up on your own? I personally, today I woke up on my own and it was like 3:30 in the morning, but I went back to bed. Alarm woke you up. So let's think a little bit. You woke up too late. Oh, I'm sorry for that. Sorry. So how did you feel how do you feel usually when you wake up? Do you feel happy? Do you feel tired? Do you feel cold? Do you feel like you want to go back to bed? Do you feel sleepy? Do you feel like you're thinking of what's going to happen that day? Or you feel that you're trying to remember what happened yesterday? So focus on this moment. How do you really feel? How do you get out of bed? Do you jump out of bed? Do you crawl out of bed? Do you walk slowly out of bed? Do you get out of bed at all on some days? So it's really nice to get the children to think about very small moments and focus on them and really, really describe them. So instead of in the morning, I wake up, I get out of bed, we can sometimes tailor it a little bit to think of these small moments and focus on them. Do you like to have breakfast? Some people do, some people don't. So this is something that we can explore with the students. Thinking of all my to-do list. Yeah, I hear you. So let's go back to our first reading. And can you identify a pattern here? The young man with the hat is riding a big red bus. So here we are more descriptive. We have used some of the techniques that we've used. We've held a big sentence and we've put it here, and we can see the techniques coming here. He is looking at the dirty car. So here the children are practicing the present continuous, which is the purpose of this lesson, I think. And the car is obviously dirty. What comes next is really interesting. He does not like it. Do you think here he does not like it? This is something that the students are thinking. So here we start with what they see. They have described what they see, and then they go a little further and they start to talk about what they think. And then you will see here, is he thinking about his own car? This is the wonder. So this technique is called see, think, wonder. This is one of the techniques actually sometimes used in orally describing a picture, and it's one of the visual thinking routines that you can see in some of Macmillan books. And it really brings a lot of depth into what they see, and there's no reason why we cannot bring it into writing instead. Well, Initially, this technique is mainly for speaking, to encourage children to speak about the picture, but there's no reason why we cannot use it in writing. So they see. The little children are on the bus. This is see. They are smiling and playing. This is see. They are excited. Now this is think. I think they are excited. Where are they going? There comes a wonder, a question. This really helps the children to think about the picture and go beyond what they see. And it really makes the writing very cute and very deep sounding. The nice woman with a lovely dress, oh, that woman again, is stopping a taxi. That's see. She wants to go home quickly. That's think. I don't know that, but I think that. What has she got in her shopping bag? This is a wonder. So see, think, wonder is a very nice technique to try with your students. Here are some extras. Use unusual writing prompts from time to time, something like these prompts, and you will find a lot of these on the internet. So write about a character who can't laugh. Tons of ideas can come out from these prompts. These perhaps are more suitable. This is a sort of unguided writing. It works with older students to give them a prompt and help them to create stories around that. Write a crazy sentence. Write a story that ends with this sentence. The sentence should make perfect sense at the end of the story. So what can a crazy sentence be, and how perhaps this woman, this guy in a swimming suit, in swimming costume, stopping a planet, and how can you make this crazy sentence make sense at the end of a story? So perhaps we can create a sentence, one of these crazy sentences that we talked about creating, and then encourage the students to actually write a story that ends with this sentence. So this sentence makes perfect sense. Write a scene that takes place immediately after a tragedy. Do not mention the tragedy. What kind of description can come out of this? Write a story that begins with, she wanted me to break it. What is it? I'd say it's a phone, because most women do not like it when guys stare at their phone. So she wanted me to break it. This is a straightforward guess, but you can actually get lots of ideas coming from these prompts. You will find tons of prompts on the internet, and you can create your own really, but sometimes it helps children overcome the barrier of being creative. And it's better than just write a story or write and draw a story. When you give them these prompts, it can really help sometimes. All these can fit into our standard process writing technique. Brainstorming is when you try to set the mood, try to set the feelings, try to give them options of words and options of ideas, giving them prompts, encourage them to use the writing techniques, the see, think, wonder techniques. Draft is when they start writing and organizing. Edit is perhaps where they use the power words, they replace some of the basic words to some other words that they want to enrich their writing with. And then they proofread for spelling, punctuation, and grammar. But of course, if we train them enough to use the grammar, once we've taught it, once they are it's really fresh in their heads, we start using it immediately in many writing tasks, proofreading is going to come more natural. And it all starts with the idea, really. If the first thing that revised phase is missing, you're right, Abdulaziz, that's absolutely right. Review and edit again and then publish, of course. It all starts with the idea. If the idea is not right, oh, Nathan, you're so kind. That was a test. Exactly, yes. The first thing that you need to think about when you're looking at your children's writing is the idea, whether it's relevant to the task that you've given them, whether they've got something to say or not. We start with the idea, we develop it, we brainstorm, we draft, and we give them more words, more tools to express this idea. It's not the other way around. We do not start with words and then use them to create a correct sentence and that's it. We need to encourage children to start with the idea and don't worry about it. We will help you with the rest until you get it right. And then we express that idea. We build the sentence. We choose words. We do a lot of work around cohesion, coherence, organizing, writing strategies, empowering this writing. And at the end, I will leave you with this quote. Do not try to figure out what other people want to hear from you. Figure out what you have to say. It's the one and only thing you have to offer. And this is what we'd like to encourage our children to do, to have something to say and to use their language to say it, rather than just saying what they think we want to hear. We do not want our children to draw just a red flower with a green stem, just because they think this is what we want to see. And thank you very much for being such a great audience. Thank you very much for listening and for interacting on the chat box. That has been so much fun. And over to you, Nathan. Have you got any questions?
Hello. There wasn't that many questions. I think there was just a lot of engagement and a lot of enjoyment. I'd love to go back a slide because I also agree with, I think it was Shireen that said that quote, I think is spot on. I made some notes along the way. But yeah, I agree. Writing is so hard for students. It's not their first language. They're young learners. They're children. And quite often English is not something that they get a lot of exposure to outside of the classroom. So finding ways to make it fun and engaging and not just a kind of boring task to get grades is a real challenge, I think, for teachers. It's one of the hardest things I think they have to do. I agree with a lot of the things that you say, like empathizing with the students about the fact that it's difficult, letting them know that we understand that it's a difficult process that they're going through. And then using these things like scaffolding, continuously building on their skills, their ideas, getting them to work together. A lot of those really cool activities that you were showing were collaborative. So moving writing away from being an individual activity, because that's how students see it. I'm the one that has to write. It needs to be my piece of work. And saying to them, no, we can make mistakes. And I remember when I was teaching young learners, I mean, I was writing here in my notes, that collaborative writing was always a really fun thing that you could do. So you get them to write these sentences like you were, and then they pass it around the room. So they have to choose 5 friends and they pass it around, and they've got to find ways to either improve it or find other ways to comment on it. So they could suggest different words. So where they've got red car or red taxi, they can think of other colors. You know, what's the most unusual color you can think of? They could have purple and indigo, and it just gives them more ideas. And then they can draw pictures about it, and they can come up with a final sentence. Maybe there's a grammatical part that they could improve upon, or they can add an extra adjective, all these types of things. But it makes it collaborative. And then when it comes back to the original student, they've got all these, like, it's almost like a brainstorm that's been made for them by passing it around the room. So I love these types of things. I loved your idea about making the writing structures visible for them continuously so that they've got a reference to help them. It's not a trick. We're trying to trip them up and test them all the time. No, let's make it visible, make it easy for them. I think that's really nice. But I think, actually, I guess we should pitch this question to the chat box. I mean, how do people out there teaching young learners make writing an enjoyable process for their students? Maybe there's some really good ideas that people have from the audience. I think it's a really challenging thing to do. I love the fact that you used art as well. So again, writing some of these things out, but then using pictures instead of the words and having a mixture. I know a lot of the new course books, they do that, right? And there's a word for it, and I can't remember what it is. You probably will be able to remember, but it uses pictorial words, right? As they build the sentence up, and then they can go off and find what that means. So it could be the sun, and then they've got to go off, if they don't know what that picture is, find that word, and then replace it perhaps in the, yeah, rebus. There you go, perfect. So loads and loads of great stuff. If anybody does have any questions, yeah, if someone's there saying they're struggling to find time to make activities interactive, engaging. I mean, I think, Ola, you've given loads of tips for making writing fun, I guess. Get them playing with the language. There was quite a few in there where they get to play with sentences, make sentences, get them to then perhaps draw the picture, then, or the other way around, flip them around. Use fan fiction websites. Yeah, we looked yesterday. If anybody was with us yesterday, we saw a really great AI tool that you speak to it and it tells you, you know, your answers. That's a great way to get them practicing writing structures as well. Lots and lots of things, I think. Ollie, you've given loads of stuff. We've run over time, and I know that Mahab is ready to go with the next session. Thank you so much, Ola. I just said a lot then, did you? I mean, I have some comments on any of that.
Thank you. You're spot on, Nathan, actually. And I loved your idea about passing on this sentence and having students improve it and work with it. And it's really builds on everything we've just said. And it's just a really great tip.
Yeah, and then you can keep going as well, because they can then create the next sentence. So they, yeah, think of a follow-up sentence, think of a previous sentence, and eventually they can build up stories that way as well. And it's a collaborative story. It's not, I've got to come up with all the ideas and I've got to know all the language. It's a real team effort. Thank you so much once again. If you would kindly stop screen sharing, although we all love this quote, we would probably look at it for the rest of the evening. We're going to move on. Mab, a warm welcome to you. You've got big shoes to follow here. That was such a great session, right? I know you were loving it in the background.
Yeah. I always love what Ola shares, and I find it really helpful and beneficial. I'm sure I'm going to use a lot of what she said in my training sessions also. Thank you, Ola. I enjoyed it a lot.
Cool. So if you want to screen share, Mao?
Yes.
So now we're going to have another 15 to 20 minutes, and we're going to look at taking some of those ideas and bringing them to life in your classrooms. As we know, lots of us use coursebook material. You might be teaching with Academy Stars. It is one of our young learner courses. If you're not, though, hopefully you will get some really good ideas that you could convert to the textbook that you are using. But hopefully you're using Academy Stars, because that's what we hope. And if you're not using Academy Stars, I will send a link to it. And if you're interested to know more about it, you can get in touch with us and we will tell you all about it. Mab, good luck with your session, and I will see you in 20 minutes or so.
Thank you. Okay, so happy to be with you. And, you know, I mean, after Ola, what can I say? You learn a lot. So you learn so much from her, and thank you, Ola. But as you can see, the slide in front of you says creating the confident young learner. And so just look at this slide and tell me, write in the chat box, what your opinion is regarding how to help create a good young writer in any language. So I totally agree with Nathan. Writing is hard, and it's hard in all languages, by the way. So if you're learning a new language, it needs a lot of other things that the teacher has to do also in order to help the students. So what do you think, from your opinion, what element would help to create a good young writer in any language? So what is like the element that you would focus on? And think about Arabic even, your mother tongue. If you were to write anything, go back in memory lane and, you know, try to remember when you started writing. What's the element that helped you the most? Okay. Okay, meaningful reading. Thank you very much, Tara. Yeah, definitely. Reading will, I mean, reading, I totally agree, because it provides a model for writing later on, having examples. Thank you very much. So both of those are forms of support, actually. And if we move to the next slide, here, this slide talks about support. And like Oda mentioned, when trying to come up with a good piece of writing, and you're still a very young, not a very young, a young learner, you will need a lot of support. So basically, you will need support, vocabulary support and grammar support. Now, you know, with the new language, you will need more support, obviously, because for you to be able to put your ideas on paper, you have to be really careful what to choose, where to put those vocabulary items, how to connect them to each other. So please take a careful look at the slide in front of you and tell me what you like about it. I will read a little for you from the slide. With Academy Stars, we're combining traditional and modern aspirational approaches to prepare young learners for the 21st century and future academic success. And so the 21st century, probably you will see a lot of skills there of critical thinking, collaboration, and cooperation and creativity. And so a good writer, yes, a good young writer shouldn't be scolded for making many mistakes. Totally agree. I do agree that, because this would, what you want to create actually is a comfortable atmosphere. And this is exactly what I'm going to talk about regarding helping the young learners to put their ideas on paper. So when you're supporting them, what you're doing is that you're creating this comfortable atmosphere. So the first step is for them to feel comfortable. By the way, feel comfortable listening to the language and trying to use it, because again, this is a language that they don't use. And so first of all, you get them. Thank you, Iman. The slide is amazing. Thank you. First of all, you get them to feel comfortable. And then you, if they're feeling comfortable, then they feel that they're safe to try. So once they start trying, and you kind of just stop them at a point and keep, you know, pointing out that they're doing things and that they're expressing things wrongly or using wrong words, you're going to really stop them instead of, you know, pushing them to express themselves more. So what we want here, because writing is actually the last I wouldn't say the last, it's the product. It's the final point where we get, where we reach when we actually apply all of the skills properly. So it's really what we want to do is to actually boost students' confidence, to produce and use target language in meaningful ways. And you can see in Academy Stars that this is done very carefully, taking into consideration supporting the teachers in order for them to be able to support the students. Like we saw with Ola, writing is, writing is a technique that needs a lot of preparing. And so if you have things ready made for you to help you, by the way, even teachers, just like us today, we learn a lot from each other. So I would never mind someone actually showing me the way. Going to the next slide. Here you can see that Academy Stars is focusing on the interactive and productive activities through Be a Star. So there's this Be a Star activity that that is there in the book, that students have to work, either pair work or group work together. And most of the time, what you're doing is that you're pushing them to feel more comfortable using the language, practicing the language. When they sing the song together, they kind of forget themselves. I've seen it in classrooms using Academy Stars, and I really enjoyed it. I completely enjoyed it. They kind of sing the song every morning before they start, and they move about and they enjoy the language. They enjoy what they're doing. To a certain extent, I believe that they did not understand every word that they were singing, but later on, this will push them to try to find out what the meaning is, because they will get so engaged in the activity, and so they'll be intrigued actually to use the language, to use the words. For those of you who already use Academy Stars, you know how much it focuses on practicing the listening skill. But if I may ask, before we move further, how do you possibly think that this skill would contribute to the writing skill later on? I mean, what has listening got to do with the writing? And Academy Stars focuses a lot on listening, but how do we move from listening to writing effectively? And what do you think? Just give me ideas, just write any idea that comes to your mind in the chat box regarding this, regarding the link between listening and then writing later on. I think, throughout what I said, you can just go back to a few points that I mentioned. Mm-hmm. There are clues there. Children need to listen in order to speak, speak in order to read, read. Thank you, Ola. Thank you, Ola. Exactly. Exactly. Once again, for English, it's a language that they don't use. They have to feel familiar with it. So they listen to it. And then the listening leads to speaking. When they're speaking, they reach a point where, you know, they recognize letters. They recognize that this is a language, a different language from their own mother tongue. And this leads them to feeling excited about putting those letters together and reading, making sense. And so it's all about the first step of creating the interest in the new language. And so further, you're exposing them. And after they get exposed to the sounds and they're, you know, the language is familiar now, you create the interest. And when you create the interest, they imitate the language learned in both the spoken and the written forms. And so with Academy Stars, there's something that really helps to scaffold the whole process from the very beginning with grammar support. So you find vocabulary support and you find grammar support in Academy Stars. You can see on the right. You can see on the right side of the page that it has the unique syllabus, including graphic grammar videos, and helps increase students' understanding of grammar structures in an accessible way. In a minute, you'll get to see the video, and yes. Enjoy it.
To be, present simple or past simple. Yesterday, she was sad. Today, she is happy. Today, she's happy. Yesterday, she was sad. Today, she's happy.
I'd love to have some ice cream too. Okay, so let me move to the next slide. Yes. And so like you saw there, with Academy Stars, we're using grammar, but with blocks. And so the support the learner's getting is getting through those building blocks. And I'm sure you enjoyed it because it is enjoyable. It's lovely, and the animation, the movement. And by the way, the first couple of levels in Academy Stars, they're similar. The character is really small and pushes those blocks to connect to each other. And then the character, even this character, cartoon character, grows older or taller, let's say, and the final couple of levels, the character uses a remote control to push those blocks together. And so it's really fun. Now, you know, to work on sentence building and move forward, adding ideas and trying them out. You know, Ola mentioned practice. And so they are practicing the use of words. And by the way, Academy Stars also recycles vocabulary. So throughout the unit, they're recycling the vocabulary that they've learned and using this vocabulary in grammar. And so, and of course, they are challenged to use other vocabulary and try and personalize the experiences, you know, give their own sentences. And so here on this page, you can even see that there's a reminder. This is from grade 6. There's a reminder here that says, use the past simple to talk about an event in the past. Use the past perfect to talk about an event that happened before this event. So there are a lot of reminders. There's the blocks, there's the video, there's the reminder, and again, the recycling that keeps going on throughout the unit. This one here is an example of one grammatical structure. And the points that you can see in front of you are actually the benefits of using such a technique, using graphic grammar. So first of all, it's easier to understand for young learners. We enjoyed it. I'm sure they will a lot, especially that they will, each one of them will have a code, and they'll be able to, you know, see it over and over and over again. They'll be able to watch the video with their parents, and so there's the let's say there's the comfort level. They're all comfortable. The parents know what the children are doing, and especially that parents look for grammar a lot. And so we're using grammar to build language. We're using it differently, not the traditional way. And we're trying to make the learners understand that this is something that they can use, they can express themselves through. And so parents, if they're really, you know, watching the videos also, okay, it's a different feeling, that no more demands for more worksheets, for more exams on related to grammar, because through the interactivity that goes on in the video, I think they will also understand that, you know, this is the vital part of the language. We want them to use grammar, not to just write it on a piece of paper. Easier to understand for young learners, and I would add here, easier to understand for parents. And second point is understand and remember grammar structures more effectively. And why do we want to do this? Because like Ola mentioned, we are building this for later on, for the writing. We're practicing the language so that they would be able to apply it in writing when there's a need to express the ideas, they'll be able to put them there. Third, and most importantly, and what I actually want to focus on in this slide is to establish the writing awareness. You saw the video, you saw the blocks, and with the blocks we were trying to form meaningful sentences. Those meaningful sentences should be put, they should realize that those words, if put in the correct order, okay, they will be able to express an idea through them. Okay, so, you know, at a time, it will be more of an imitation. But then, you know, doing this day in, day out, they'll be able to express, they'll feel more relaxed with using the language. So, for example, here, you could use objects, you know, put them in different places in the classroom, and say, for example, the nearer one, and I'm sure all of you do this in classrooms, like you put a pen, a pencil in, you know, on the desk near to you and say, this is a pen, that is a pencil, this is a door, that is a window. But the thing is, try to use as many objects as possible. Try to show them pictures if you can, and ask them to talk about it. Next day, for example, you can, without showing them anything, just ask them to talk about this very, very simple structure, just express themselves through this very simple structure. This, as you can see, it's I kind of just took those pictures from the video itself. So new grammar is presented in the form of movable blocks, like you saw, that make meaningful sentences. The animated graphic grammar, animated videos help bring this concept to life. Now we'll talk a little bit. Thank you very much. So yes, teach, engage, and aspire. Yes, thank you. Like, before we move on to the other slide, those blocks, like Ola mentioned, we all need tools. I mean, trying to accomplish a piece of writing when you're young, if there's no one guiding you and telling you, you know, giving you a model at least to follow, providing you with ideas so that you can provide, you know, more ideas, it would be really hard in any language. Any language, the writing is the hardest bit. But writing can become something that is really lovable. I mean, I sometimes feel that I love writing because, and I really enjoyed our session because, you know, it gives a lot of ideas about writing, and you know, there's a lot out there, and we can use all those tools to improve the writing inside the classrooms, and you know, because there's a lot of encouragement, there's a lot of confidence that comes with writing also. And so both blocks and color coding work on the subconscious mind of the learner. Each time the blocks are introduced, the mind works on trying to make sense of each block item in relation to the others around it. The mind also pays attention to the colors through constant repetition. Now you have 6 levels, and you're repeating grammar in every unit, and so you have those videos. And so the mind builds the connection, not only grammatically. So the mind will remember the colors, the mind will remember the places. Okay? And so not only grammatically wise, but hopefully also language comprehension wise, because through those videos you are pushing them to understand. You're supporting them. I wouldn't want to use the word pushing. You're supporting them to understand the meaning behind the language, the meaning behind grammar. Why do we use grammar? Because it's an essential part of the language. But language is not all about grammar. So language is about expressing ideas, just like my colleague mentioned. And so how to put those ideas in a proper context and frame. And so moving on, you can see here we have a dialogue model from the book. And so this is another part where the book supports learning the language and actually supports writing, because all throughout the units, all of the units, you can find a lot of models that you can ask students to follow. And by the way, when you're doing this every day and they get used to it, they're not thinking about it as a model to follow. It becomes like what Ala said, it becomes like a second nature. No? This is what you want them to, this is what you want to achieve. At the end, it becomes a second nature. Like notice here, we have a dialogue. And again, there's the look reminder for the pronouns. And so, you know, they listen to the language, they're using grammar here. And later on, when we come to the writing part, this will help a lot in expressing what they need, the ideas that they need to express. Authentic context. The lovely thing about Academy Stars is that it helps students to think about real situations, real life situations, to help improve their language comprehension and establish a model for writing later on. So you can see here that, I mean, I don't want to take more of your time, but this is very interesting because it's a challenging text, actually. And it's, you know, someone is running after a businessman and the person is not really very neat and the businessman is really elegant. And so, you know, there's an assumption there that this person running after the businessman is going to harm him. And so you're getting them really excited about the whole story. But then you're teaching them something at the end. This man running after the businessman really wants him away, you know, wants to push him aside because he was going to be hit by a car. And so assumptions, making assumptions. And, you know, we live in a world where we're surrounded by media, social media. And so awareness, creating awareness also, because Academy Stars also focuses on values a lot. So this is what we want to, you know, raise in the children, the awareness of being really careful as to what to listen to and how to act or react, actually, towards certain ideas. And so here again, we're providing an example, and I repeat, it's recycled vocabulary, recycled grammar in different contexts to help later with the writing. This is here a piece that I put together. It's not the actual 2 pages from the book, but I kind of, put them into pieces together like this. And so what I wanted to show you here, thank you, Medina. Thank you, Iman. Now, here, when you reach the writing, notice that the students are asked to look at the information in the leaflet, find examples, and then work on those examples. Now, here, most importantly, is that you're providing them with a model. But notice that at the bottom of the page, you have the reminder, Unit 4, Organized Notes to Plan and Write an Information Leaflet, pages 43 to 45. So there's always a reference. This is what I meant when I said there's a connection from the beginning of the unit until the end of the unit. So you reach the writing after you establish all the other skills. You go through them properly and you make sure that students actually worked on them, and you have the outcome. You can see that they're really confident in what they're doing, whether it's listening, speaking, reading, and then when you reach writing, okay, they're using all of those items, vocabulary items, they're using grammar, and like Ola said, even if in the simplest forms, but at least they are trying to put those ideas together. And so here we're helping them, we're supporting them, we don't leave them to do the things on their own. And there is also reference to other pages, previous pages from the book. The second one says read the notes about the story hut and number them. Here, students are asked to work together. And I found that when students work together on writing, it really encourages them to do more, to achieve more. And so writing is never an individual, for me, I mean, it's never an individual, like strictly individual work, because you don't want them to cheat from each other. No, cheating is really very healthy, I find, because, they can explore, they can benefit from each other's ideas. They can have a debate, a small one. They can, just widen their horizons if they share ideas. And so maybe at the end, final draft, you would want them to write it on their own. But through the process, it's really helpful if you use techniques that Ola mentioned and help them to work step by step. So, they reach a point that they're really confident about what they're doing, and they present you with a final draft. Of course, each one of them has to present their own draft at the end. Notice that number 3 here also says work in pairs, write an information leaflet. And the reason why I put at the bottom the reference to the workbook, just to show you that the number of times that they get to write in different, they try to put ideas in different frames and try to use those ideas differently every time. Okay. So that's all for me, for today, and I hope you enjoyed it. It's bye-bye for now.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
No, it's really interesting, and we've gone over time quite a lot today, so I'm not going to say too much, but I think the fact that we've gone over just shows that this topic is so complex and requires a lot of time and a lot of consideration when we're teaching writing, especially. Because we've seen there are so many ways to approach it, there are so many ideas, there are so many ways that we can support students with their writing, and it's not an easy process. I mean, I like Academy Stars. I love the graphic grammar. I think it really helps them to understand what for them is very abstract as a concept. It's not easy for them to grasp the grammar. So making it a fun process, using Lego bricks and pieces of card and getting them to be playful with the language, I think really helps younger learners. So seeing it in that animation, I think is a really nice way for them to explore the grammar and use that for their writing structures. And there's loads of other ideas that we can use. I mean, you were looking at the reading with the 3 separate passages, and they do a piece of reading and then there's a question attached to it. It's related to real life, but we could get even more creative with that. We could break up those sentences and put them around the room. We could put them in groups and get them to explore and then come back and formulate their own questions. They could survey each other. They could have different pieces of the text and have to write questions around them. There's lots of ways of getting them. I think it's just showing that writing isn't just about putting pen on paper. It's about building up those strategies, but building up and being playful with segments of language, whether it's sentences, whether it's words, whether it's paragraphs, and moving them around and showing that they can be manipulated and personalized, and all of these different types of things. Now, if you can stop sharing, I will tell people once again that, of course, there will be a certificate. I did answer a few questions in the chat box, but there is a certificate that will be sent out. Let me share my screen. This was today's session. Obviously, it was absolutely wonderful. And I think everybody really enjoyed learning about these activities. Oops, I've gone too far. Academy Stars. Let me go through these. I want to get to the certificates. There we go. Certificates are going to be sent out in the next few weeks. So just be patient. I'm going to be sending out for every day. So there's 100 and something people each day. So it's going to take me a little while, but I will get there. And tomorrow, so tomorrow we have a global events. I've incorporated it into this, but it's the fast forward events. You can register at macmillanenglish.com if you go there and look for events. And you can also go to the MENA PD Academy website and you can register for them as well, or go to any of our social media pages and you will see all of the adverts for these webinars. Tomorrow is going to be 30 tips based on the whole year of professional development that we've done. So there are 10 tips for young learner teachers, there are 10 tips for teenagers, and there are 10 tips for young adults. So if you want loads and loads of practical tips, then come along tomorrow. It's on at 3 times, 10 a.m., 2 p.m. and 9:30 p.m., which is UK time. For another from myself, I would like to wish you all a very good evening and thank you for sticking with us to the end. No, they're all repeated. So 30 tips at 10 a.m., 30 tips at the same 30 tips at 2 p.m. and the same 30 tips at 9. So you only need to attend one of those sessions. I will let the ladies say goodbye for themselves.
Bye-bye.
Paula's there somewhere. There she is.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I really enjoyed being with you. Bye. Have a lovely evening.
Yeah. Thank you so much, everybody. And we'll see you hopefully tomorrow.